Welcome to the Parkinson's podcast Unfiltered with hosts Heather Kennedy and Kat Hill, brought to you by the Davis-Phinney Foundation. Heather is originally from New York and was diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's in 2011 when she was 40. Kat is originally from a small town in California and was diagnosed in 2015 when she was 48. Heather and Kat have been friends since they met at the World Parkinson Congress in 2019. In each episode, Heather and Kat dive deep into the raw emotions and realities of life with Parkinson's.
Hello, 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 friend.
It's Kat Hill in the house. How are you?
I'm good, Miss Heather. How are you?
I've never been better because today I was thinking about what's working instead of what's not working. How about you?
That's been on my mind a lot too. It's been a really interesting time to try to stay balanced and to try to stay, I don't like the term above the fray, but away from the fray. And you add a little side of neurologic disease to, fear, pain, tension, anxiety, all the big things. How do we stay sane through it?
Well, it's too late for me. They're coming to take me away. Ha ha. Hee hee. Well, the truth is, I don't avoid anything, really, because I can't. I find the eye of the storm, so to speak. I get right in the middle of it so that I can somehow practice grounding, if you will, or practice some calmness, which is going really well. But truthfully, meditation does help. So I'm going to go with meditation for my first thing that's working. Because on days when I don't meditate, for just like 5 minutes, which could be just breathing alone in a space.
Tell me what you mean by that. So let's say you're in the eye of the storm. The storm is building. You're right there in the thick of it. Your body's feeling it. For me, that would look like my tremors are coming on, the dystonia's twisting my body. How do you go from that to meditation?
Right now, my foot is twisting. My back is hurting and I can feel my meds going off. Right now, there's a buzz to my right, which is the water cooler, and it's buzzing. It's really bothering me. My cat is running to and fro. My mom is here moving things in the background. I'm trying to stay with you, but there's some squirrels and monkeys running around in my head. They're galloping, actually. The furniture gallops around at night. There's always something going on. There's always a storm. So I don't. The answer is I don't. I don't try. I just sit here and I breathe and I go, control, and then can't control. That falls under the category of things I can't control.
Okay. So what I pictured when you said I just meditate, I pictured you leaving what you were doing, getting a pillow out, crisscross applesauce on the pillow, closing your eyes, setting a soothing breath. And I think that meditation kind of gets a bad rap because I think a lot of us think that and like you're supposed to clear your mind. So you can just do it by brain. I know, right?
You'd be dead.
Yeah. That's what I say. I'll stop thinking when I stop breathing.
Right? The mind is always going.
Do you have to close your eyes to kind of get focused? I know that helps me to like concentrate on my breath. Otherwise, even what I'm seeing visually, like you said, the cat, somebody helping you move. I've got construction going on in my neighborhood. So
you can let your gaze go soft, focus on like a candle, but not really staring right at the candle, or something light in the room or some dark spot in the room. Or you can go ahead and close your eyes if you want to shut out stimulus. So I don't do anything like that. I have no technique. Here's my technique. Ready? I watch my mind do what it will. I just let the ticker tape go by, let the clouds go by, and I go, there you are, anxiety. Welcome back. Thought you'd be here. It's like that one video that we talked about, morning meeting in my head, where she shows up like, hello, depression. Hey, procrastination's here, but where is, And so I just watch what shows up. That's all. How do you do it?
I was very intimidated by it, honestly. So I do it similarly. I often have to close my eyes because I get so caught up visually. I'm kind of a visual detail person. And I also like the sounds you were saying earlier, like, your heater's coming on and you notice that. And, if you live in an older house, until recently, I've always lived in an older house. So there's creaks and there's often kids and there's dogs with little paws, click, 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 click. And I used to have to count down. I'd count my breaths, something simple, something simple. So meditation's working for you. That's good. I think that's a powerful
When I do it.
when you do it. Yeah, it's easy to forget, right?
Sure. And it's the times when you're going to forget it that you need it the most. People will say, well, I didn't work out this week because I was busy. That is precisely when you need to add that moment in to do some stretching or something.
I've been thinking a lot about what serves me and what this year I've had a big reevaluation of where I'm putting my time, my energy, my spoons, if you will. And we've touched on this before. With fewer and fewer spoons or less energy, I think getting more intentional about it helps. I also think something that's really helping me is to sort of define my core values. And I know that sounds super corny. It's almost like, what is my mission statement as a human being right now? And where do I want to focus what energy I have? It really comes down to the simple things. I know it sounds corny, but my goal is to live as long as I can with the most quality of life I can, and to be available for the people I love the most. It's pretty simple, but then putting it into practice can be hard, right? We're social people. We are multifaceted people. We have lots of interests. And Heather, you and I both have the opportunity to be invited to go places and speak to people. And it's hard to learn to cut back and say, I can be so busy speaking to people that I don't make time to speak to my kids. My kids have busy lives and they're all adults. And if I really have the core value of wanting to spend quality time with them, I need to make myself available to do that. I need to make myself available to the charming man I live with. Even though I see him a lot, it doesn't mean that we have quality time if we're both have packed schedules. So it's being intentional. And sometimes it's super hard, and the stuff that's going on physiologically with Parkinson's makes it harder. And so we have to sometimes work harder at it.
Yeah, I would say I need to feel safe is a big one for me. Although I don't disagree about that lovely man you live with or the people around us. I want to talk more about community. But these changes in our brain that happen because of our meds and because of the disease progression itself are what I struggle with the most. So it's me against me, regardless of who's around. Unfortunately, they have to take some of this anxiety that I'm probably leaking based on my distraction, my overwhelm, irrelevant background noises, or people that are speaking loud really upset me now. I'm like that old lady. It's drafty in here and these people are loud and can we move the table? I never thought I would be that person. I'm also confused easily. I get both spoken speech and the way that I talk confuses even my voice to text application. But back into feeling safe. My polyvagal system or my vagus nerve is not getting the right cueing right from the nervous system, as tends to happen. My breathing will change, my ability to swallow. All those, what did you call them? Autonomic or?
Autonomic nervous system, and there's the autonomic and then the sympathetic, but all this nervous system funkiness, if you will, that comes with Parkinson's, the dysregulation, meaning that the things that are supposed to be automatic for us get fouled up with our neurotransmitters. And so confusion, memory changes, auditory stimulus, visual stimulus, all of those things are perceived, can be altered in people with Parkinson's. And I think it's hard for the people living with us sometimes to understand that. Reading is difficult. So
for a number of reasons.
Mhm.
My eye tracking is not the same. My eyes literally get blurry. I don't know about anybody else. Literally, huh?
Yeah, for real. That happens. And I get symptomatic if I'm trying to read. So all of that back and forth with my eyes stirs up symptoms. And so if you take all of that and you add, you know, a big election going into holiday season, I think it's really an important time to be thinking about what serves us. And for me, I tend to do that towards the end of the year anyway, as I go into a new year about, are there some things that I want to shed? I know for me this year, Heather, one of the things that I am reevaluating is I spend a lot of time volunteering in the Parkinson's community, and it has served me beautifully. I've gotten to meet amazing people, but I'm also needing to spread myself out and do some other things. I want to volunteer to hold babies. I want to be in the hospital again a little bit as a volunteer.
Right. Choosing those things is kind of nice. Like, for example, I choose things that now don't dysregulate my nervous system.
Ah, tell me about those.
Well, have you ever had that friend? They might be fascinating or exciting, or they might have a lot of qualities you enjoy, but you find yourself incredibly drained to the point of just laying flat out every single time you have an interaction with them. It's not that I'm avoiding them, it's just, and it's not that they're doing anything wrong, but for some reason, my nervous system gets jacked. I tend to have less time with them.
Yes, and being intentional, I find myself being very careful if I choose to spend time with folks that do that for me. And again, it's not a dig, it's not insulting. I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with these people, but it's the way that I am in the world. And I think that that's what's hard for a lot of us struggling with neurologic disease is that those changes feel really uncomfortable sometimes and also not talked about a lot. And how do you do that with people that you've known and loved and spent a lot of time with all your life?
That's what I was going to ask you.
Right, family.
Right.
I think that's hard. I think that
If they don't live with us and they don't see our changes that come quite often, and they're only with us once in a while, they're not aware of the ways in which we are actually disabled.
I agree with that, Heather, but I think even more than perhaps them not being aware, they may even be aware and they may be very well intentioned and love us a lot. And it still may be hard to spend a lot of time with people. Loud voices, we just were talking about that. Some people, I have quite a few elderly family members who I adore, but who are also hard of hearing. And I find that long periods of time with elevated voices, I can't do it for very long. And sometimes I'll say, I really love you, but it's hard when you're talking so loud.
Yes.
So I can't.
Earplugs?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's an accommodation. I also think shorter visits, that I can do this, but I can't do it for a long time. So I was headed a little bit to this idea of what's working and sticking to what's working. So let's say I'm going to talk about a really practical thing, and I spend a lot of time with this grocery store analogy because who doesn't need groceries, right? I know many people during the pandemic learned how to order groceries online, pick up groceries, have groceries delivered. I think that's a great option if you can afford to do it, if it's accessible to you. But I know for me, if I have a choice of going to a grocery store that has got a decent parking lot to navigate, I know that they always have carts for me, and I can go to the checkout line that actually has a checker and not self-checkout, get help with bags. Those are choices I'm going to continually make. And that is sort of that sticking with what's working a little bit and not giving myself 25 options when I go to the market. And instead of even trying to go through the decision-making process of where to go, I'm going to come back to how to make that task the easiest I can for myself. I'm going to spend time with the people that work for me and feed me back. I'm going to pad my schedule. Heather, you and I were talking about that the other day. That sounds like something we all should be doing, but we don't. We look at our calendar. Oh, we have a 9 o'clock and a noon. I can fit 2 or 3 more things in there.
We're self-regulating at that point, right? Like we'll find out pretty quickly when we've overdrawn our, so to speak, account, right? The major constituent of the parasympathetic nervous system is that cranial nerve that originates in the brainstem needs constant interaction, right? We'll know right away when that stuff isn't working properly. We'll know right away when we're sort of quote unquote triggered. I don't like to use the word triggered, but we get sort of jacked up.
I also, Heather, so I think coming back to prior to it learning that it doesn't work, we've got to focus on what does. So if we know we can be out an hour, we go out an hour and hold ourselves to it.
Yes. And if we know that we're going to go see our Aunt Judith, who is a little vexatious, but we have to go.
Wait, that
Yeah,
word,
I've only got-
vexatious?
Yes. It was the word of the day, probably. I wanted to fit in there somewhere.
As long as I don't have to spell it, I'll be okay.
Okay, she's a little irritating, like a pebble in your shoe. You say, well, Judith, I only have 15 minutes. I'm just making up that name, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I only have 15 minutes today.
Right, right. Or I'll even do that on a phone call. Or also saying, you know what, maybe not today. Maybe not today.
Another thing that's working about these plans we're making, Kat, and you and I talked about this too, what my friend calls a master list that you have sitting in your house. So the next time the person says, hey, what can I do for you? You just have that list ready, and it feels good to let them choose something. Because trying to scatter to try to figure out who can help you is impossible when you're in the middle of the storm like we talked about. We've mentioned this before, but I'm going to say it one more time. Have specifics ready. Kat taught me this. Have these specifics ready so that you can say, well, here's a list of things that I need. Here's the Dead Sea Scrolls of, what I would like to do. Would any of these things match your capabilities at this time?
Yeah. On the fridge can help because people do want to help. People do want to be of service. And we like to be of service to others, don't we? We all like that. That feels good. It feels good to be helping out.
The purpose. That's the next thing that's working.
Mm.
I want to help. I want to be of service. And I want to do that whole thing. Viktor Frankl. I want to have a purpose.
I think purpose is really important. I think it keeps us connected to the rest of the world, even if we have limitations that don't let us leave a wheelchair, limitations that don't let us leave our house. There are lots of ways to be of service, from making phone calls to reading to grandchildren, to dog sitting, let somebody bring their dog over. There's thousands of ways we can be of service in our communities and to the other humans in our lives. Even asking the people we love the most, what can I do for you today?
Right. That's what you ask when we talk. You always say that when we first talk. You say, Heather, what can I do for you today? What a lovely thing to offer.
You're very kind. You're very kind.
I'm just honest.
But kindness is also one of those core values for me. I want to show up. My core values include kindness, honesty, and showing up with love. And it doesn't mean I always have to act and do something, but at least I can show up authentically when I show up. I'm trying to work on a new one, which is not offering input unless it's invited. And it's actually serving me well. I find I try to listen more and learn more from others. I know that the lovely man that I'm living with and working with here at home, one of his core values is always to be learning. And I love that too, a knowledge seeker. Defining them though, how many of us, have you ever written down your core values?
Yeah. It's savaging people, aggression, snark, and fury. No.
Nice. What a good balance, Heather.
I know. I'm really balanced. Everybody will say that. I think being curious goes along with listening. I'm not the best listener.
Oh, I disagree.
I saw all my old report cards. Heather's not listening. She's looking out the window. Heather's distracting the other children. So it's not Parkinson's that I can blame my lack of deep listening skills on, but I've learned from friends when they've loved me enough to listen. So,
yeah. And for me, as it gets harder, with Parkinson's, it can be harder to express my thoughts quickly, to find the right word. And so that gives me an opportunity to practice pause.
And listening is working. Pausing is working.
Pausing is working.
Right.
So anything else, Heather, is working?
Yeah. Feeling sensual, feeling sexual, feeling your body, getting back into your body, out of your head. It's easy to leave your body when you're not feeling well. You know, we want to escape, we want to peel these layers off and get out of the cage. The body's a cage sometimes.
And Heather, you just made a major shift in your world. There were some things that weren't working for you here on the West Coast and living in a, a high stressed, a busy world of the San Francisco Bay Area, which we all love, but it is busy. And you picked up and moved everything across the country.
Yes. I decided to give most of it away because I couldn't bring it. And the stagers were able to use a lot of my furniture, which was a compliment. But I do miss it because it was like the right shape, size, function for me. It's hard to find that adaptable furniture that also looks stylish. But the good part of moving across the country is that I'm near family. I have loving family. My mother was just here to pick up a friend to take him to the airport because I wasn't able to do it because here we are. And that would not happen in the San Francisco Bay Area because I don't have family there and most of my friends will be working. So the obvious is helpful. And I've been paying for care out of pocket. I wasn't able to afford that there.
So economic, it's real. Economics, whether we like it or not, it impacts as we move forward and choices. And I know for us, downsizing has been very freeing.
Yes. Parkinson's is expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
All chronic illness is. For example, when my insurance didn't register the Nupro patch and I had to pay out of pocket, I get to the place and she's like 1,000 something something. Now there are cards for this. There are all kinds of programs that we can look up. Ask for your social worker in the hospital. Ask for the nurse. Ask for the accompaniment to your doctor. Your doctor may not have the answers, but somebody in the office or hospital will. There's always an option. There's always something that can back you up. So just keep digging when you can't get what you need right away.
Stay curious,
Yes.
ask questions.
Yes.
And boy, talk about learning and growing your brain, just managing meds and getting them organized. I'm part of a WhatsApp discussion thread with other women around the world that have young onset Parkinson's. And there was an interesting thread about how we organize our medicines. Okay, so this is a little off topic, but you have to stay organized with your medicines when you take a lot of them. And one of the things that's working for me around my medicine is I zhuzh up my medicine. I take it in a non-medicine container during the day. I have a fancy little leather attachment that I put my little pill case on my bag. And that bag, pardon me?
Fancy.
But you know what? I don't feel like I'm looking at prescription bottles all day long. That matters to me. So I am trying to embrace where I am. And my husband knows where to find my little pill container. Yeah, all the little tools and tricks, right? So instead of feeling judged or making it a have to or a yucky feeling, I'm trying to take something and make it a little bit of sunshine. So
yes, you are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make
So
me.
what else is working, Heather? I hope other people are thinking about what's working for them.
Yes.
Is your house working for you? Or do you work for your house? Davis Phinney Foundation has a great practical tool to get your house ready and more user-friendly if you've got Parkinson's.
Personal massagers work well too if you want a
Yeah.
house item.
Yeah, there you go.
For the shoulders and stuff.
Indeed. I also think creativity is important and ways to stay creative for me that bring me joy that in quiet spaces. Music is working for me. It gets me moving.
Humor.
Heather just keeps a file of things that she gets a chuckle out of. I do that. I had a feel good file at work. We should keep a feel good file when you're feeling like crap. Read what other people send to you.
You're the only one that understands my deep love for R&B from the 90s, so I'm ready to do that.
Have friends around you that like the same silly things that you like. Not that we're silly, Heather.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, one thing I found that's helping me lately is when I festinate in a doorway or if I get stuck somewhere,
There's a
I
good
used
word.
to really worry.
Yeah,
Fascination.
it's a great word.
I used to really worry about how I appeared.
Mm-hmm.
But now what helps me regulate is I just start singing a little song in my head. Or I'll start clapping to the beat. That looks even weirder, but it works.
Yeah. Give me the beat.
Yes.
I know that's not what she says, but it's close. I'm always almost right.
Right. No, you're spot on. I have said that before. And then I tried to do the dance, and Jackson would not be pleased. Or was that? Yeah, Janet Jackson.
Janet. Yeah.
Damn it, Janet.
Damn it, Janet.
Oh, Kat, I
Ah,
love talking to you about what works. Let's think of one more thing, and let's
okay.
ask anyone listening to come up with a few things on their own.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what's working for other people. I'd love a lot of people do, a lot of like accoutrements. I'm not a
Hmm.
gadget person. I've never been a gadget person, but I know that there are also ideas. I think my head is my biggest tool and my biggest barrier for myself. And as we're constantly in this dance of life and neurologic disease, we've got to keep learning, keep growing. For me, keep simplifying, shrinking down. What's the core? Spend more time with the people I love the most. Even if it's different, even if I can't mash the potatoes at Thanksgiving, I can cook
That's
them,
a dance, right? It's a dance reference.
mashed potatoes. Probably, but for me, it's really about potatoes. I've never met a potato I don't like, ever.
Oh, same, man. Those fries that are in dedicated fryer for gluten-free people like me.
Like you, amen.
Ooh,
Potato is
yes.
gluten-free.
Let's see. One more thing. Spirituality. I'll just add spirituality in there. And lastly, the transverse abdominals, because they help me get out of bed. You do
Mm.
that with breath work. My physical therapist, Cassie, has taught me so much about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you have thoughts, folks, and things that you are finding working for you, we'd love to hear from you. And you can comment on our YouTube. I don't think we have a channel, right? But we post these on YouTube.
We'll take all the help we can get. So please comment about what works for you.
Yeah, the YouTube channel can be found. It's on the Davis Phinney YouTube channel. So you can find us at our Parkinson's podcast.
Yes. DavisPhinney.
That's Davis Phinney.
Woohoo. He's my
Woo!
guy. He's
Yeah.
Connie's guy, but he's also our guy.
Yeah, and next season I think we're going to have some more guests, Heather. I think we're going to switch it up a little bit.
I'm so excited about this.
And I am too. We've gotten to make a list of some delicious folks that we want to visit with, and we're going to kind of theme what we're going to talk about. We're hoping to talk about things like parenting with Parkinson's. We're hoping to talk about things like, what are some other things, Heather? We talk to some other inspiring people with disabilities.
Nutrition and how to get your brain, body, and tummy fed
That's
with
right.
all kinds of delicious things.
That's
Not
right.
necessarily to eat, but
For the mouth and for the soul. How's that? Let's make it fun. Let's make it
Yeah.
fun. And we want to thank people a lot for listening. We've had some really great feedback, and mainly it's really fun showing up and talking with you, Heather. I appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. Likewise, my friend. And let's do it again.
I can't wait. See you guys soon.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Parkinson's podcast Unfiltered with Heather Kennedy and Kat Hill. For more information about the Davis Phinney Foundation and to learn about educational offerings and community events for people affected by Parkinson's, please visit davisphinneyfoundation.org or dpf.org. This podcast includes information about Parkinson's and insights from our Parkinson's community. It is not intended as a substitute for treatment advice from your own medical providers.